Hi, welcome to episode 4 of The Culinary Kid, a cooking show for kids by kids. I'm Avery, the Culinary Kid. And with me today is this week's Culinary Kid assistant,
Rachel.
Remember, always ask a parent or grown-up if you can cook.
And to help you if you are not old enough to use a sharp knife.
Or tall enough to use the oven or stove. Today we're learning how to make a pie crust and using it to make a free-form apple tart. Okay, so we're gonna start out today with a medium-sized bowl and about 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour, which we're just gonna dump in there. Ooh. Also, to add some flavor and also make it kind of healthy, we're going to add some organic oat flour, which is basically like ground up oats, which is pretty cool. We're gonna add 1/4 cup of that. Also, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And you don't have to add this, but I like to. 1 tablespoon of sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Not cinnamon sugar, 2 separate things. Okay. Now, we're just gonna put this to the side. And get some more ingredients, which we're gonna use.
All right, so we have 3/5 tablespoons of cold water and 12 tablespoons of butter. And remember to refrigerate these ingredients.
And the way we're gonna cut it up is cut it in small cubes first. Cut it down this way and turn it and cut it that way. And then cut those 4 pieces about a centimeter in all the way across. Okay, now we have some pre-cut butter over here in the refrigerator. I found it. Butter. First time I saw butter in the fridge, I actually thought it was cheese. Yeah, okay. So we're just gonna put this out of the way because now we're gonna be mixing some stuff up on the table. So right now, we're going to whisk up the flour. A whisk. Make sure you get like all the cinnamon and everything, so if someone's eating it, they don't say, "Yuck, I just got a big taste of cinnamon." It's not good. So now we have the butter cut up, and now we're going to mix together the basic mixture. So just kind of dump out your flour onto your surface. Make sure that there aren't any like crumbs or anything, or else you'll get crumbs into your pie crust. So remember, always just use your hands, it's okay. Make sure you wash them first. Now we're gonna dump in the butter. Ah!
No.
That's not good, it just fell a little bit. That's okay, we're alone in the kitchen. Okay, now we're just gonna get the butter coated up. And now we're gonna mix it all together, which is basically what you do. You can help me with this.
All right.
Is just kind of squish your butter. Not with your palms like that. It's more like this sort of like, yeah, like that. And then when you get like a piece of butter, just kind of move your fingers around in a motion kind of like this until you get kind of little pea-sized shapes. Okay, we're gonna keep doing this. And it's way faster with 2 people. Okay. So remember, don't really like squish it with your hands like this. And when you're mixing it together, what you're trying to do is get the butter and the flour kind of mixed together in little balls. Because what happens is the butter and the flour kind of, this is how you make a flaky crust, is the butter and the flour kind of get into really small little layers, like one on top of each other. So that's why you want to keep mixing this together. Also, if it's summer and your house is in air conditioning, or if your hands are just really hot, make sure that you like run your hands under cold water, or else you'll melt the butter. And you can use melted butter in a pie crust if you want, but what happens is it actually makes the crust kind of like a sandy material, or like taste. Okay, so we're just gonna keep doing this. And remember, don't really like squish like that. Move your fingers in a kind of a motion like this, like kind of pick it up. No. Like kind of take one thing and like, you know. Okay. And yeah, just keep doing this for a while till it gets into, okay. Don't really squish it like this, like that. Like the way you're doing is kind of squishing it like that. but kind of pick it up one at a time, sort of like this, and then like squish it around like that, sort of. So you're not like squishing the butter together. Otherwise, you get kind of like butter pancakes, and butter pancakes do not taste good. So, okay.
I'm a first-timer butter squisher.
Okay. Also, you can make this in a food processor if you want, but I just think it's fun to touch the butter and it feels really awesome. Okay, I think we're about ready to move on to the next step. So now you have your flour and your butter. Next, we're going to make the Culinary Kid River. Okay, you might be wondering what that is, but remember before when we had our water? This is when we use this. So what we're gonna do is you're going to make your flour and butter into sort of like shape, sort of like a slug, but don't think about that when you're making pie crust because that's kind of disgusting. Okay, anyways, you have that, and then kind of, this is why we call it a river, because you kind of use your hand to make an indent in the dough. Okay, make sure you don't go all the way down to the tabletop when you do this, and make sure that the edges are nice and high so you don't make a waterfall, making a river here. Okay, next we're going to take about a tablespoon of water at a time, cold water, and kind of drizzle it in here, or 2 tablespoons. So now we have our gorgeous river. It's very nice. Okay, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold our fingers like this. Would you like to do this part?
Sure.
Okay, hold your fingers like this, and reach under the flour, and kind of fluff up like that. Okay, and now you're gonna do this on all the parts. So, kind of like the sides of the river caving in onto the water. Okay. Like, get into it. Okay. And now we have this, and it depends really, this is kind of like when we made the pizza dough. It really depends on whether it's like a warm, or if it's a dry or humid day, because if it's humid out, you won't need that as much water. So this dough is still pretty dry, so we're gonna add in like another tablespoon of water. Really, the least you should use is about 3 tablespoons, and the most about 5. Okay, oh no. See, this is what happens when you're not careful. The water kind of drizzles out like a little mini waterfall. Just make sure it doesn't like dribble off the table. So fluff it around like this. Fluff, fluff, fluff. And see, the flour is still pretty wet. So, I mean dry, excuse me, dry. So we're gonna do this again, make a river. And really just do this as many times as you need until it gets like the right consistency. So now what we're going to do is squeeze dough. This is what I like to call it. I like to call it squeezing the dough. What you do is just to make sure that everything gets together one last time, take the dough in one hand and kind of squeeze it and drop it off over here. And do this, kind of like that. And we're squeezing. And now here we have some of the dough that's still pretty dry. So we're just gonna sprinkle on some more water. You don't have to make a river or anything, just kind of use your fingers. Okay, now we're gonna squeeze this and drop it over here. Okay, now we're going to bring this all back here. Now we're going to frissage the dough. If you noticed, yes, some things on our table have moved and disappeared, like magic. But a good idea when you're kneading or frissaging anything, or like mixing stuff together, is to clear your work surface. Okay, so this is not kneading, like my mothers keep telling me. Don't knead. This is frissaging. Okay, so frissaging is, what you do is you take the heel of your hand. Yes, your hand does have a heel. And you kind of put it on the very edge of your pie crust and kind of press out. And use like one hand, 'cause I just think that's easier to use just one hand. And just keep doing that. And you're gonna want to do this like maybe twice, so you just get everything nice and mixed together. Remember, don't do this like more than twice, because then what happens is the gluten will get overworked and it'll get like very tough and stringy and not good. Okay, so now we have everything together. Now sometimes like you'll get a little streak of butter on your table, that's okay. So now we have our pastry scraper. He's back. Okay, just scrape all that dough back to you. And We're gonna massage it one more time. Would you like to try this time?
All right.
So that's not really how you do it. What you try to do is take the heel of your hand, like this part, okay, and don't really start like right on this side. Try to start like at the front, sort of like right there, and kind of press out. Yeah, like that. So it kind of like you're smearing it, and press down hard. Yeah, like that. Remember, don't take 2 big chunks at a time, or else. Actually, I'm not really sure what happens if you take big chunks. Basically, what happens is it won't get mixed together as well.
It won't be the end of the world.
No, it won't. But it could be the end of your pie.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, that'd be bad. Okay. You can actually take a little bit bigger chunks than that. Okay.
All right.
We're massaging the dough. I know, I think it sounds like you're massaging the dough. Like,
It's French.
yeah, that's a French word, massage.
Massage.
Massage. Okay. Butter.
Right.
Okay, so now we're just gonna take all this gorgeous dough back here. And before we roll it out, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna refrigerate it. Refrigerate it for like 20 minutes so that it doesn't like, the butter doesn't get all melty and stick to your rolling pin. So can you go with the plastic wrap?
All right.
So now we have some plastic wrap out. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna refrigerate the dough so that when you roll it out, the butter doesn't melt and get all stuck to the rolling pin. So just kind of make it into sort of a patty shape, like a dome, and then squish the top down like this. And you should be able to sort of like pick it up. And okay, not pick it up. Sometimes the dough is a little bit dry, which probably isn't too good. Okay, so now we're just gonna take our scraper and drop it right there. And kind of make sure it's okay. And now we're just gonna roll it up into our plastic wrap. All right, now we're gonna take this and put it into the refrigerator to chill and relax. Okay. And we're gonna keep that in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes. So now we're just gonna like clean off our table because now we're gonna deal with the apples, which is what's gonna go in the middle of our crust. Just remember, between things, always clean off your surface. All right, we can just throw that in the sink here. All right, next we are going to cut up the apples. Do you want to go get the apple stuff?
All right.
Okay, so for the middle, you're going to use about 4 cups of apples, which is roughly like 3 to 4 apples, depends on how big they are. You can really use any kind of apple except really sweet ones like Macintosh are delicious. Right now, because these apples are in season, I like to use the Honeycrisp and Gala apples. And you can even throw in a pear if you want. Oh, okay. Here's some more stuff. Also, we have half a cup of sugar and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and also some nutmeg. This is actually what nutmeg looks like. Okay, before we do cut up all the apples, you're gonna preheat your oven. So preheat your oven to 400 degrees. And right now we're going to peel and cut the apples. So make sure you never like cut anything without having a cutting board. Okay, so now we're just gonna take this super duper apple core and core the apples. Stick them in there. Take out the seed part. Okay. Do you like to core your apple?
Oh.
Okay. So after this, me and Rachel are actually gonna have a contest to see who can peel our apple and get like a longer peel. Remember, you should never like try to peel an apple super fast. Because actually, earlier this week, my mom was peeling an apple and she sliced her thumb. So don't peel apples super fast. Try not to do that.
Oh no, it's stuck.
It is. Okay, no it's not. Yay.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so now we're going to peel our apples. Here's your super duper peeler. I think it's new. So here are the rules. We need to see who gets the longer peel. You get to pick one peel and only one peel to test to see who's longer. Okay, ready, set, go. Come on, Apple, you can do this. You got this. You got this. Oh no.
It's okay, Apple. Don't be nervous.
Oh dear.
I can't peel.
It's falling apart. That's not good. Oh no.
I know mine's falling apart too.
Why is this apple slippery? It feels slippery. Did you like cheat and sabotage my apple or something, Rachel?
Maybe. Oh no.
Oh no. So far, this is my longest apple peel.
Ah.
That's pretty sad. Are you okay? Did you like cut yourself?
No, I did not cut myself.
Okay. Because I'm a good sport, I'm going to help you out right now. So it's a good idea to always
Oh gosh.
hold up the apple, sort of, and put your thumb here to peel it. Ah! I swear, this apple is really slippery. So kind of like put your thumb right there, sort of, you know, like this, sort of. I'm almost done peeling my apple. I hate doing the ends. They're really hard. Like all, yeah. Now I have a naked apple. Okay, just gonna wait for you here. Did you know that in Brazil, they take their apple peels and they throw them behind themselves when they're peeling an apple, and the initial it makes is who you're gonna marry. So now remember, keep your workspace clean and throw out your extra apple peels. And next we're going to cut up the apple. What we're gonna do is we're gonna dice it, little dicey squares. Knife. I'm going to use a knife first to cut it in half the long way. You remember our knife safety tips? We're using a serrated knife. Oh, this is hard. It's a hard apple. Okay, it's okay. And now we have 2 halves. And remember, always have the flat half on your cutting board. And cut that half in half. Ugh. Now we're going to cut that quarter in half to make an eighth. My math teacher would be so proud. Okay, so now, once you have your eighths, going to cut them in half and make 16ths. Okay. And just drop them into here. We have some pre-cut apples. And we're going to cut these. So you cut that one, and then this way, and then this way, and then this way again, and in half, and in half. Okay, we are now done peeling and cutting, and we have the apples. So we're just going to dump the apples into the bowl here, all of them. And we also have half a cup of sugar and about 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. You're just gonna dump that in. And also, for flavor, I always like to add some nutmeg. We're gonna use about an eighth of a teaspoon. And we actually use the little nutmeg nut things, and which are not actually nuts. And we have this super duper little scraper. Does not scrape cheese. It just scrapes this stuff. Believe me, I've tried. Okay, we're gonna scrape this. You don't have to have like exactly the amount because we're not really putting that much nutmeg in. Okay, now we're just going to put that to the side and can you throw that out? And we're going to mix this all together. Kind of like when we were fluffing the dough after the river part. You throw that stuff out. Okay. So it's really better to have a bigger bowl because it's way easier for your first time. Okie dokes. We now have our apples, which are done. Okay, now after you do this, you should probably wash your hands and get all the sugar off. We're gonna put this to the side. And it is now time to roll out the dough. So we need to get the dough out of the refrigerator. Walking over here, refrigerator. The dough. And now we're gonna just spread out this flour right here. so that just like with the pizza, your dough does not stick. And rolling pin. You get the rolling pin? Okay. So now also sprinkle some on top so it doesn't stick to the rolling pin. And now, just like with the pizza, you start in the middle and roll out. Start in the middle and roll out. And then on the sides. And then on this side. Oh dear. So now our crust is sticking a little bit to our rolling pin. So I guess we didn't refrigerate it long enough, which isn't too good. Okay, so now we're just gonna quickly flip this over.
Sprinkle the top with
Oh dear. And sprinkle the top a little bit with flour. And roll it out again, this way and that way. On the side, remember when you get to the edge, kind of let up a little bit so your edges don't get really like light and stuff. So now we're gonna keep rolling this out. Now the reason why this might be so wet-ish, it could be because we didn't refrigerate it long enough, or it could also be because we added too much water. Okay, you like to roll it out a little bit?
Sure.
So you want to try to roll it out to about a 16-inch radius, and remember, let up on the edges. Don't like roll over them, and always start in the middle always start in the middle, kind of like right there, and go out. And remember to always also do the sides like that. And yeah, we're gonna keep doing this. And also, you also want to flip it over a little bit, like halfway through. You want to kind of take your gorgeous pastry scraper and kind of just drag it under here, and then sort of so it unsticks, and then flip it over. Oh no. Okay, that's not good. Okay, our pie is falling apart because it's too moist, which isn't good. See, this happens sometimes when you're cooking. Things get destroyed. Okay. That's like real life though. Okay, so now we're gonna sprinkle on more. Just, if something happens, just try to fix it. Like what is happening here, we didn't plan this, so it's not too good. Okay, so I'll roll it out a little bit now. And remember, just one big rule is make sure there aren't really any thin parts. Like if one side of your rolling out crust is like too thin, then it will burn. So you want to make sure that everything is equal. And keep rolling it till it gets to be about like 16 inches. Or if you're like doubling the recipe or something and you want to make a bigger pie. Okay, so we're just rolling this out. And now it's starting to get normal, which is good. Also, another thing is it hasn't happened today, which is kind of interesting, is sometimes you get little butter splotches that aren't covered by flour, which you want to just sprinkle with some flour so it doesn't melt and stick to your rolling pin. Okay. I'd say this is probably good enough right now, the way it is. So any cracks, you just kind of want to fill in. And the edges I always like to sort of squish together so they don't rip or tear or anything. Okay. So now we are going to get a cookie pan and a sheet of parchment paper. Put that right there when we're ready. So what we do now is we're gonna try to get this onto there. What you do is you take your pastry scraper again, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually fold it into quarters so it doesn't tear. So what you do is you just take it and you fold it in half. See, this is getting bad. Fold it in half, like this, and then like that. So now we have kind of a calzone sort of. And now we're going to take the edge of this and put it right in the center of your pastry sheet. And now what we do is we unroll it, sort of, like unfold it. And usually it doesn't look this bad, but because the dough is the way it is. Okay, we have a pie crust. Next, what we're gonna do is we are going to take our apples and sugar mixture and kind of just sort of slide it and dump it into the middle. A lot of the times, like some of the sugar just kind of globs at the bottom, so just take all that out, because I like sugar, and you probably do too. Okay, so make sure that all your apples kind of get into the middle, but don't stack them. Just press them together. Okay, and next what we're going to do is we're going to fold the crust over the apples. So what you do is take one side at a time, like one side of the circle of crust, and then after this, you're not going to go like that. What we're doing is we're actually pleating it. So kind of pinch this together right there, and then fold it like this, so you have like a corner. So pinch it right there, and fold so you have a corner. And you're going to do that again. And then here. So now this is our free-form apple tart before it's cooked. So now you want to make sure that there aren't any holes. Like there's actually a very small one right here. I don't know if you can see that. And what happens is all the juices will fall out of the hole. So just, you might even want to take some crust from a different place and just kind of patch up those holes. So, and also pinch together the sides, right at the corners, so that juice doesn't squirt out there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put an egg wash on our apple tart and the sugar. So what we do is, to make an egg wash, just crack an egg into a bowl and add like a tablespoon of water. Okay, and next we're going to take our fonce brush and take the egg and just kind of just lay it on top. This doesn't really like do anything. It's okay if you forget to do this. What it does is it just browns this up nicely. Makes it good. Okay, make sure you don't put too much on, or else it will kind of get gooey and dribble everywhere. Okay, so after this is done, you want to sprinkle on the sugar. Do you like to do that? The finishing touches. And really, you can use as much sugar as you like. I like to use a lot of sugar, because I like sugar. And don't use, if you don't have an egg, just skip the whole egg wash thing altogether, because if you just put on water, it'll evaporate and the sugar will fall off. Okay, so now we have our freeform apple tart before it's cooked. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put it into the oven, which is ready. So remember, safety first, and use some oven mitts. I know you can use one, but I always like to be safe and use 2 oven mitts. Okay, so now what we're going to do is first going to open up the oven, and never stand in front of the oven and open it like this, because you can burn yourself. Open it like that, all the way. And try to do this quickly so the heat doesn't escape. So put it on the top rack, middle rack. Put it in the middle rack, like so. And remember, okay, now just close this quickly. And now what you're going to do is you're going to cook it for 40 minutes and then check about every 5 minutes until it's brown. Now we're going to go over here and set the timer, kitchen timer, 40 minutes. Start. Okay, and now it's cooking and cooking. Tick tock, tick tock. Okay, and now we actually have one that's all ready. And like magic, the pie's done. So this is one that we just pre-cooked. Taking it out here. Okay. And now here is our free-form apple tart. So it's done and it's ready to eat. And now we have moved our pie onto this very fancy festive plate. Ooh, apple. We should add that. Just remember the apples. And thanks for watching this edition of Culinary Kid.